Hey everyone, today's read is going to be from Romans 12, which is definitely one of my top 3 favorite chapters. And I think that's the case because it speaks so strongly to people that profess to be Christians that are only in professing in word only. Because that was me. So everything I'm going to share with you today would have been something I guess I'm so passionate about this particular message because it's something that I would have needed to hear and did hear a similar version of this not so long ago. So with that, I just want to read the first 2 verses. It says, "I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." So I just want to go and start over with that. It says, I beseech. Okay, the definition of beseech, I looked that up. It says implore urgently and to beg eagerly. So I don't know that Paul could have picked a more impactful word to say, please pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. So he says, I urge you. Okay, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God. So in some versions it said, in view of God's mercy. So when you realize the mercy that He has bestowed upon you, that you were dead in your trespasses and sins and deserved condemnation, but it's through His mercy and grace that you are redeemed if you surrendered to Christ. When you think of it that way, He's saying, in view of this, what you know about the great mercy of God, do this. Okay, and what does He say? I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Okay, now he is talking to people that were very accustomed to killing animals as sacrifice, basically a dead sacrifice, to atone for their sin. They would have been familiar with the law of animal sacrifice. But he's saying, no, that's not the sacrifice where God wants now. He has presented you the final and perfect sacrifice, His Son. So now what does He want? He wants a living sacrifice. So He wants us to walk out our faith in Him in obedience. It says, present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. So do you want to serve Him? You need to start by walking out in obedience what in view of His mercy. Okay? And in verse 2 it says, and be not conformed to this world. So let's stop there, because this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Do not be not conformed to this world. Statistics have been done that indicate that those that claim to be Christians and those that do not claim to be Christians, statistically, there is no difference in divorce, fornication, okay, sex outside of marriage, drug use, alcohol abuse, pornography. There's no difference statistically. Okay, so why not? And the answer is really simple. That is, there's many people out there that are Christians in word only. Okay, and Paul is urgently begging us to not conform to this world. Do not be like that, because if there's ever a clear-cut demonstration that you don't belong to Christ, it's that you look like the rest of the world. We are called to be different. beyond a shadow of doubt, you are called to be different. If you claim to be a Christian and you're still continuing and deliberately continuing in a life of sin, you do not belong to Christ. I don't know how else to say that, and how this can't be hammered home hard enough. Because I think the biggest mission field in the world today is professing Christians that are only professing but not walking out their faith. They're not working out their salvation with fear and trembling. Okay, it says, so do not be conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I just want to stop there too, because there's many people that just kind of keep doing their thing, and if God wants me to change, He'll change me. Now, to a certain extent, I get that, because there's a life of sin that I was leading when I thought I was saved, that I thought I was a Christian, and I finally just complete brokenness, surrendered to Him, and just said, if this is going to get done, you have to do it. Now, that is complete surrender that you need to definitely arrive at. So I'm not discounting that. But at the same time, we have a responsibility here. Notice how Paul doesn't say, let God transform your mind. Okay, though He does the changing, we have some responsibility to renew our mind and be transformed. I skipped something I wanted to jump back to. Let's jump back to this being conformed by the pattern of this world. Check this out. I'm not just talking about the vices and the sins that we discussed already, but it can be in the form of religion as well. And check this out. And if you don't think that your fellow Christian should be rebuked and you should call them out, check out what Paul did here to Peter in Galatians 2. Check this out. Only they would that we should remember the... No, I'm sorry. Where am I at? I meant to start at 11. Okay. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him. Now this is Paul. I withstood him to the face. I mean, he got right up in his face, right? Because he was to be blamed. He was to be blamed, so he got right up in there, right? For before the certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. So Peter was hanging with the Gentiles, eating with them, doing his thing, right? But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. Okay, so these are the religious people that are calling on works righteousness. And you might say, well, aren't you talking about works righteousness with turning away from sin and all that? No, that's not works righteousness. That's obedience. There's a difference. Okay, works righteousness says things like, I was baptized as an infant, so I belong to Jesus. I'm going to be saved and go to heaven. That's religion, and that's works righteousness. That's not true. Okay, but check this out. What does he do? He gets up in his face and he says, and the other Jews dissembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their hypocrisy. So even Barnabas, now Peter was a giant, right? I mean, he walked with the Lord, and he had his shortcomings, and the Lord restored him, many times. But check this out. Barnabas was following Peter's lead. I mean, you don't know who's watching and following you and seeing the hypocrisy, right? But Paul gets right up in his face and calls him out on it. So back to our verse. So, and be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may approve what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So your mind has to be set on the things above, focused on Him, because as long as you're focused on the lust of the flesh and the things of this world, you will not be able to approve and disapprove of the things that are in His will. You won't have that discernment. That's just all there is to it. Now, you might say that's a really hard language. I'm not saved because I continue in a life of sin. You don't have to believe me. Check out 1 John 1:6, and you tell me if there's another way to see this. If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and practice not the truth. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for today. Peace. We'll see ya.